So, Kara, ask any parent of an elementary school child, and they'll tell you figuring out lunch is one of the most difficult parts of going back to school. Here to help us pack a school lunch that kids will actually eat is pediatric feeding specialist Heidi Miller. Good morning, Heidi.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
Heidi, tell us what you do at your practice.
I'm a pediatric speech language pathologist by trade, and I have a subspecialty in feeding. And I essentially help children expand their palate, expand their repertoire. So, because I work so much with children that have some anxiety or pickiness around eating, when it comes to heading back to school and packing those lunches, I often like to give families some tips.
That's very cool.
That's fantastic. Heidi, our executive producer was telling us that he and his wife struggle to kind of figure out what to put in their 8-year-old's lunch. I know I have a number of friends. My friend's son is just starting school. He's only 3. And she's like, I pack him a bunch of things and then they all still come home. So where do parents start?
So it's hard, and feeding can be a very big challenge for a lot of kids. So, when you're thinking about the child that eats very easily, and then you're thinking about the child that sometimes is a little picky, going back to school, especially this year, post-COVID, when some kids were remote last year, there's a lot of anxiety with that as it is. So we want lunch to be a cozy time for them. They're dealing with the peers, they're dealing with, a lot of different things. So what I would suggest is get the child involved, especially in the beginning. This isn't something that's going to happen, obviously, all of the time going forward for the whole school year. We can't always have our kids helping pack their lunches, but in the beginning, make them part of the process. If you say to them, and clearly we do not want them just throwing a whole bunch of junk in their lunchbox, but the way we can control that a little bit is to say, you know what, you're going to pick a protein, and you can give them examples of what that is. That's a cheese, that could be a yogurt, that could be a turkey, that could be a chicken nugget. You're going to pack a starch, that could be crackers, pasta, the things that your child likes. You're going to pack a fruit or a vegetable and give them choices, but keep the choices cozy. Keep them things that your child likes, and then let them have their fun snack, dessert, whatever. And it gives them a little more control. And then when they open their lunchbox, there are things that they chose, and that helps them to feel empowered.
I love
and gives
that.
You control.
Yeah. And I mean, with this whole COVID-19, the masks, stress is at an all-time high for everyone, especially our 100%.
Children.
So how do you handle a kid that is picky and stressed out already because of everything I just mentioned?
Right. So if you have a child that really struggles with picky eating, lunchtime and packing a lunchbox is not the time to be like, oh, well, today is the time that we're trying apples. You have to send them really their comfort foods to school. And, if you want to start to work on expanding the repertoire and stuff like that, those exposures should then be in the home environment, because you don't want to add any more stress than they already have to that school situation. So I would still try to say to them, look, let's try to pick from these categories. If it is very limited, then I would say to them, you know what, honey, you had your cheese and American crackers yesterday. So today we're going to try to pack your yogurt and one of the cereals that you like, and let them pick from there. Building in choices is going to give them empowerment. But definitely try to rotate through the things that they like, so that they don't what we call extinguish a food, because that could be problematic too.
Man, I have a soon-to-be 6-month-old, and I thought the feeding and food situation was rough, but I guess I haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah, no, I just sent somebody off to college. We got his repertoire expanded, and now he's doing great. But this could be a real challenge for some people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Heidi, real fast, I just want to ask one last question before we go. But just because you were mentioning, incorporating new foods, maybe at home, let them have the, their comfort foods in their lunch. And I know, again, from a lot of my friends with kids like Lisa Marie and those with older kids, they'll say, oh, my child doesn't eat that, or they won't try that. How do you incorporate something new at home?
That's a great question. First of all, you don't always go to just eating the food. I like to talk to the kids about, let's explore the food. And having the foods, the exposure to the foods, that helps a lot. It takes our bodies a really long time to decide if we want to eat a food or not. And so oftentimes I'll say to my own kids, it takes you 18 tries to decide, or 20 tries to decide if your body likes the food. So if you didn't like it this time, you might not like it. You might like it next time. But it's not always, Sally, eat the avocado. It's, let's explore it. Do you want to give it a lick? Do you want to give it a kiss? Do you want to mix it? Can you pass it to mommy? Can you pass it to daddy? Can you cut it for your brother? So those kinds of interactions help, and just really giving them the exposure and having it. As parents, it's our job to present the foods, and they say that for the children, it's their job to decide how much goes to their belly, and we have to really respect that process.
Absolutely. Heidi, thank you so much. You can learn more about her services at HeidiMillerSpeech.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Take care.